Good morning, everybody. My name is Dorval Carter. I'm the president of the Chicago Transit Authority, and I want to thank all of you for taking time to join us here today on Chicago's far south side, because today is truly a great day for a discussion about a transformational, once-in-a-generation project called the Red Line Extension. I am pleased to share with you today that the Red Line Extension, the project that we refer to as RLE, is in line to receive $2 billion in critical federal funds that will cover almost half of the entire project cost for this project. Further, CTA has been granted permission by the Federal Transit Administration to advance into the engineering stage of the planning process, which is the final step we have to complete in order to begin construction of the project. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge some of our special guests here today who have been able to join us. Mayor Brandon Johnson, FTA Administrator Nuria Fernandez, Senator Dick Durbin, Congressman Robin Kelly, Congressman Mike Quigley, Alderman Anthony Beal, Alderman Ronnie Mosley, and Chicago Transit Board Chairman Lester Barkley, Chicago Housing Authority CEO Tracy Scott, and we hope to have Congressman Danny Davis join us shortly. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge those who are unable to join us today, including Congressman Jonathan Jackson, the rest of the Illinois congressional delegation, Alderman Peter Chico, as well as members of the surrounding communities who have never given up on this dream, a dream that I must acknowledge has been way too long in coming to this community. So, to start off our program, I would welcome up from Washington, D.C. to tell you more about this great news, FTA Administrator Nuria Fernandez. Nuria?
Good morning. It is such a, thank you. It is so wonderful to be back in Chicago and in Illinois. I love this state. I want to take this opportunity. Thank you so much, President Carter, for your introduction and inviting me here together with Senator Dick Durbin. It is such a pleasure to be here to talk about how CTA continues to advance its capital programs, how CTA continues to focus on the people and how they need to be served. We are in a place that has not had the benefit of good, reliable, and frequent public transportation like the rest of the system and network. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Senator Durbin, because he's been such a great champion for all of you in Washington, ensuring that systems like CTA, Metra, and PACE continue to get their funding, and through this bipartisan infrastructure law that was so critical to increasing the funding levels of public transportation across the nation. It is a great law, so thank you very much, Senator Durbin, for that. I also want to join President Carter in acknowledging several other people. We have Senator Tammy Duckworth, who unfortunately could not be here today, but she was so instrumental in passing that infrastructure law and ensuring that it included a critical component, which is the All Stations Accessibility Program. Many of you may not know this, but there are over 900 stations across the nation that are not accessible to people with disabilities and seniors. And when you have a program like that in a law like this, it ensures that all new construction, all new infrastructure, and existing infrastructure continues to be accessible to all. I also want to acknowledge Mayor Brandon Johnson. It's my first opportunity to meet you, sir, and want to congratulate you, and as well as Congressman Quigley, who's been working very diligently with us on many transit projects, Congressman Kelly, a Bradley Brave like myself, and then, of course, the representatives for Congressman Jackson. as well as I want to also acknowledge Catania Raby because of that critical role that planning has in ensuring that plans and dreams become a reality. When we think about the Chicago Red Line extension, we have to also think about, how long it takes to get an infrastructure project underway. And unfortunately, it's always about the funding. And being able to be a partner with the Chicago Transit Authority to bring that funding to all of you through the Capital Investment Grant Program and our commitment to provide the 50% of the project funding so that this can in fact happen. We are celebrating today the next big phase of achieving what we call in Washington and in the federal program, the full funding grant agreement. And that doesn't happen by chance. It takes dedication, perseverance. It also takes engaging with the community to ensure that all of the requisite requirements that the community expects is reflected in that program. And that's one of the things that we continuously encourage and elevate with transit systems is that be a partner with the community. And in that partnership, this 5.6-mile extension is going to not only bring 4 stations, but 4 stations in critical locations that will be able to capture the people who are been underserved by public transportation. I understand that from the Chicago Transit Authority that there's close to 25% of individuals who live along this corridor that are low income, and 18% of the corridor also is unemployed. And those that are employed have to travel, have commutes, what we call mega commutes, of 65 to 90-minute commutes. And that is just such a burden, such a load on individuals that are trying to access good paying jobs. We know that there is not a good alignment between where people live along this corridor and where the good paying jobs are. And that's why this rail line extension is so important. It's imperative because it's going to start to close that gap. It's going to make that opportunity available not only for those that have a job today, but those that are seeking a job, that they can get that job and they can keep that job because public transportation will get them there. So I am standing here today. I bring greetings from my boss and his boss, President Biden, and Secretary Buttigieg, to continue to underscore the importance and the value of infrastructure investment, the importance of public transportation, and the importance of our partnership with transit agencies like the Chicago Transit Authority to ensure that we can continue bringing these types of opportunities, continue connecting these gaps, and give every single individual the access that they deserve in safe, fast, frequent, and reliable public transportation. So thanks again for inviting me.
Thank you, Ms. Fernandez, and I can truly say that not only has the administrator been a true partner in moving this project forward, but so has the Biden administration, who has supported projects like this across the country, those that stand for equity and inclusion, and ultimately providing economic opportunities for those communities who have historically been underserved throughout our country. Next, I'd like to invite up the mayor of the city of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson, a man who I know shares the same vision that we all have about the opportunities to improve this community going forward. Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, President Carter. Thank you all for being here today, and good morning. I'm happy to be here amongst the esteemed colleagues and the leaders to celebrate the federal government's critical investment for the Red Line Extension Program. As been already articulated, 50% of the funding that's needed to build this extension has been committed today, making it the largest transit infrastructure funding commitment in CTA's history. I'm truly grateful for our federal delegation and the Federal Transit Administration for their incredible support for this important project. This is a great day for the South Side of Chicago and for the entire city of Chicago. We are now significantly closer to being able to provide a point of connection that's been missing on the South Side for half a century. The CTA is a pathway to opportunity and enrichment. Every resident deserves convenient access to buses and trains, taking them to all 77 neighborhoods of our great city and well beyond. For too long, our transportation system has denied residents beyond 95th Street. And for too long, South Side residents have been hindered by barriers to transportation. But that's changing today. Today, we're beginning to right the historic wrongs. From this day forward, Southsiders are going to start to feel the change coming to their neighborhoods, taking our vital transit system from 95th to 130th, with 4 new stations that will open up opportunities for generations on the far South Side and families who will have the ability to reach jobs, education, and all the incredible dynamics and things that our city provides and offers. In return, residents will be able to reach the furthest corners of our city, where they can spur economic activity in South Side communities. Now, for a West Sider, I don't want anyone to make any mistake. You know I love the West Side of Chicago. And it is well past time that the South and the far South Side of Chicago gets its fair share of access to the economic vitality that the city of Chicago provides. This is truly transformational, this project. It's going to strengthen and improve our economy and our city for years to come. As mayor, I'm committed to further investments in the CTA to make sure that it is reliable and safe, not just for our residents, but visitors alike. The frustration as a parent of having to wonder whether or not your child can make it to school or whether or not you can make it to your job on time is a dynamic that we get to address, and we get to do it in the most collaborative way. So today's bold funding commitment, let's continue to make sure that we continue to build on a bold vision to expand and enhance a public accommodation, the CTA. So let's continue to invest in our transportation system for the people of Chicago. I'm very much excited about this red line extension project that's taken a huge step forward to becoming a real reality. And again, I want to thank everyone for being here, particularly the colleagues that I get to work with every single day. It's our alders, Ronnie Mosley and Anthony Bill. But I'm very grateful to the delegation of our federal leaders who are also committed to making sure that these investments live longer than all of us. So I look forward to the work ahead to finally complete this project and unlock the true potential of the South Side of Chicago and for our entire city. Thank you very much.
As I indicated in my opening remarks, the ability to get this funding isn't easy, and it requires a very strong congressional delegation to support the vision that we've established for the future of the city. That delegation, of course, is led by Senator Durbin and Senator Duckworth. And I was telling Senator Durbin before we started the presentation today that one of the first meetings I had as president of the Chicago Transit Authority was to meet with Senator Durbin and talk to him about my plans for CTA. Top on that list was building the Red Line extension, and I can tell you from 8 years ago till today, Senator Durbin has not wavered in his unfaltered commitment to make this project become a reality, something that I'm personally very grateful for. So it's a great honor that I now get the chance to introduce Senator Durbin to come say a few words. Senator?
Thank you, President Carter, Mayor Johnson. It was over 50 years ago. I was still in law school. They just opened up the Dan Ryan section of the CTA. Everybody was celebrating, as they should have been, for that amazing day. But somebody said, is that it? Is it going any further than 95th Street? What about the rest of the city? So they started asking questions about when it was going to happen, and they asked every politician who got near 95th Station to campaign, what are you going to do about finishing the Red Line? So a lot of people had a lot of comments about their determination to get this done. But the folks, the 100,000 residents of Chicago who were looking for access to quality modern transportation said, enough of your speeches, where's the money? Well, today we bring the money in a big way, almost $2 billion. After 50 years of talk, after a lot of promises, the money's on the table, and let me tell you why. First, it was a concerted effort by Congress, and I want to commend my colleague, Senator Duckworth, on the Public Works Committee, as well as this congressional delegation. You see them sitting behind me, and many of them will speak today. It was a team effort. Yes, I was part of it, but it was a team effort to get this done. And we never would have gotten it done if President Joe Biden hadn't decided that we'd have an infrastructure program for the 21st century for America. We've been sitting around for 5 or 6 years with no infrastructure program before he arrived. And we've been talking about what we would do, what we dream about we would do for America in the years to come. He made it happen. Working with Congress, passed the infrastructure bill, the bipartisan bill that has brought billions of dollars to the red line of the CTA and billions of dollars to the state of Illinois. Credit to Governor Pritzker and his job in building Illinois and working with the Illinois General Assembly to get that done. What does it mean? It means for 100,000 people with this extension from 95th to 130, they have access now. It means you don't have to take 2 buses and a train to get to work. It means you might have that one modern train access in your neighborhood and an accessible station that gets you to work safely back and forth. What does it mean as well? 25,000 workers. 25,000 workers going to have good union level paying jobs working on this and a diverse workforce. We've always demanded that, and we're going to have it. This is what they call progress. Mayor Johnson, I'm glad that you're seeing the kickoff of this project because a lot is going to be done during your 4 years. We'll almost complete it. Maybe you'll have some more years and we'll see it completed at that time. But the bottom line is this. Those of us who are in public life have given the speeches, but every once in a while we get a president with the leadership skills and a Congress who's ready to move, and we get something done that literally will change the face of Chicago and the future of hundreds of thousands of people. Glad to be part of it.
So as indicated, it was a group effort to get this project done. It involved both the Senate and the House, and we're really honored to have one of our representatives, well, actually I have more than one, 2 of my representatives here today to speak on behalf of this project and the success that we're having today. And so first, I'd like to have Representative Quigley come up and give some comments on the Red Line Extension Project and what it means to the city of Chicago. Congressman?
A couple weeks ago, we met near Union Station and talked about the improvements we need there, and I said, if it rolls, floats, or flies, it comes through Chicago. This is about making sure when it rolls for everyone. This project is going to have a positive impact for generations to come. On the average weekday, CTA provides more than 1.5 million rides, serving more than 35 suburbs in addition to Chicago. Helps us get to work, at home, spend time with our friends and neighbors, going out for entertainment, seeing the doctor, buying groceries, going to school, absolutely essential everyday life. But for many years, some neighborhoods have been historically excluded from accessing this critical transit. This project changes that. For more than 50 years, the South Side has waited for an extension for the Red Line. Today, we come up one step closer to ending that. As the lead Democrat on the committee that funds the federal transportation projects, I'm proud to play a role in that. In addition to my colleagues behind me, as it was said, this was a team effort. A lot of presidents talked about doing an infrastructure bill. The biggest one in our lifetime, President Biden got it done. This project doesn't just infuse a great sense of equity and accessibility into our transit system, it'll invigorate these South Side neighborhoods. And you know, one of the reasons I'm here is everyone deserves a right to go right up through the heart of our city on that red line to get to Clark and Addison and, you know, see real baseball. But again, this is just the beginning. Once we break ground, we'll continue to work to fund transportation, additional projects that support broad and public transportation, right? How about an express train, Metro train to O'Hare? How about rebuilding the Blue Line and making sure that every CTA stop is ADA accessible so that every community in Chicago has access to safe and reliable public transportation. And in a year from now, when we take control of the Congress, and I'm chairman of that committee, these press conferences will be a lot more fun. But thanks for my colleagues behind me. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Our next speaker is Congresswoman Kelly, and Congresswoman Kelly's district is actually a little farther south than just the geographic boundary of the Red Line extension itself. But I think it's important that she's here because I think it also sends the message that the impact of this project is much broader than just the city of Chicago itself. The faster commutes that we're talking about don't just impact people who live right here in this community. It also impacts all the people who are now commuting and spending a tremendous amount of time getting from the farthest southern portions of Cook County into the city of Chicago. And so I'm excited. She has been a supporter of this project from the very beginning. She understands the benefits that this product brings to all the constituents in the region. And she is one of the biggest and strongest advocates that I have for public transportation in Congress today. So Congresswoman Kelly, please come up and say a few words.
I was going to ask, Mayor, can we extend to Danville? That's how far my district goes. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here today to celebrate this much-needed investment in our community. I've been so proud to represent Illinois' 2nd Congressional District for over 10 years. For too long, communities in Chicago's Southland have been set aside and forgotten. And I know well, because my husband grew up in Argyle Gardens and his sister still lives in Golden Gates. But today, we are saying no more. Today, we begin to build a better future for the families of the Southland. Public transportation, as you've heard, doesn't just move people, it moves opportunity. Expanding the Red Line into these communities will bring more investment, new jobs, and give our neighbors a better chance to achieve their dreams. I want to thank the Chicago Transit Authority for its engagement with our community on this plan. I also want to thank my senators and my colleagues in Congress who have stood with the South Side in support of this project. And I also want to extend my appreciation to the Federal Transit Administration and Administrator Fernandez, who we both went to Bradley, as she said, for their assistance in moving this project to this very critical stage. Hard-working Illinoisans will receive the most benefit from this project. Expanding the Red Line will create 25,000 jobs and produce over $7 billion in economic activity in the coming years. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for standing with the South Side. Thank you so much.
So you certainly have heard from our federal partners with regards to the importance of this project, but I can also tell you that this project would not have happened without strong local support as well. No better example of that is the transit TIF that has been put into place to ultimately support the non-federal share of this project. And certainly that has required the cooperation and support of the entire city council that has been led by no small part by an alderman who has probably been to, I don't know what, 5, 6 different events around this project over the course of our career. And so I'm very happy to be able to celebrate with Alderman Beal the opportunity to really talk about this project becoming a reality. And Alderman, would you come up and say a few words?
Good morning. Good morning. It is another great day in the 9th Ward. You all know I say that every time we have a ribbon cutting or groundbreaking as we continue to move our community forward. And I want to also, before I begin, I want to thank all of my colleagues from the congressional delegation to the mayor, especially Senator Durbin, who has been at the forefront of this movement as long as I have been pushing it some 20-something years ago. And I also want to acknowledge my colleague in the back. I don't think anybody mentioned the big guy in the back, Alderman Chico. I want to make sure that we recognize him for his support of this project as well. But Senator Durbin mentioned something that really touched my heart. This was a 50-year-old promise to our community. And I think I'm probably the only one on this stage that remembers that promise, because I was 6 years old when that promise was made that we were going to extend the Red Line extension to 130th. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I ran for alderman some 20-something years ago. And it just goes to show how long it has taken us to get to this point. This is a promise that we're going to see to completion. And it takes all of us working together, staying focused on this particular project to make it a reality. We talk about the jobs. We talk about connecting the entire city from 130th to downtown. 50 years, we have had that disconnection, but that disconnection is almost going to be eliminated. So we can connect the residents on the far south side to the good paying jobs, and they can get downtown in less than 30 minutes to get to their job. So I'm extremely excited about this next phase. And I think it's a total of 7 phases. I think this is 6 as far as completion, right? So this is phase 6. So phase 7 is the construction phase. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue to push this project until it is done. And we're going to push this project, making sure that every resident of the city of Chicago is connected from one end to the other. Thank you all so much for being here, and continue to support the great 9th Ward of the city of Chicago. Thank you.
So you've heard from the elected officials and the federal government with regards to the importance of this project, but no conversation could be complete without giving us an opportunity to hear from the residents of this community itself. And so I'm really happy that we're able to have the far south side community member to speak on behalf of this project, Katiana Raby. Katiana is the Vice President of Development and Planning at the Far South Side Community Development Corporation, and she also serves and was recently elected chair of the Chicago Transit Authority Citizens Advisory Board. So Katiana, please come up and say a few words about the project.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning to all of you, and thank you for your continued work and, commitment to this project. I am a lifelong Chicagoan, lifelong Southsider, and I, as a young person, taking the CTA, learning how to get around the city by myself, it's always been, really an exciting thing to figure out how to get from one place to the other. And I'm excited to be part of this project because now young people on the far south side are going to be able to get to Howard and explore the entire city. Someone years ago told me that the Red Line is like a spine to the city of Chicago, and it really is, because you can connect to so many different places by just traveling one of our train lines. And now the spine is literally going to be connected from one edge of the city to the other, and that in itself is truly exciting. So as a person who's wearing multiple hats, as a resident and a person representing residents across the entire city of Chicago with CTA's Citizen Advisory Board, and as someone who has experience in working with equitable transit-oriented development projects, I'm really, really excited to see this project be underway and, finally getting to the point where we can all have the access that we deserve from all points in the city. So thank you all for continuing to push forward on this, and for all of the support that we've received thus far. Yeah, we've got a lot more work to do, but it's going to be great. So thank you all.
So as many of you know, the Red Line Extension Project is CTA's plan to extend the rapid transit services along our busiest rail line from 95th Street to 130th Street, and to build 4 new Red Line stations for the far south side. Since I was a kid, I've heard about the plans to extend the Red Line to Chicago's far south side. So Alderman Bill, you're not the only one who remembers this 50 years ago. Never in my wildest dreams especially at that point in time in my life, did I ever envision that I would be here today sharing with you the news that that project, that dream that we all talked about, was now a reality. Since being named president of the Chicago Transit Authority in 2015, advancing the Red Line extension has been my top priority for the work that I wanted to do here at CTA. Nothing gives me greater pleasure than knowing that over the last 8 years, under my leadership, there has been more progress made in advancing this project than in the last 5 decades. As noted earlier, the funding of the Federal Transit Administration is committing will provide 50% of the funding needed to build the $3.6 billion Red Line extension project, making it the largest transit infrastructure investment in the history of CTA. Additionally, the FTA has notified us that the RLE project has advanced to the final phase in the Federal New Starts program, which is the development, which is a critical step to the actual groundbreaking of the project. CTA is now in a position to begin the engineering phase of the project, which will include the completion of the design and engineering work needed to build this extension, and will lead to the final step with the federal government, which is the execution of a grant agreement. I can't stress enough how important these developments are to not only the far south side of Chicago and its residents, as well as small businesses, but also to both Mayor Johnson and myself. Both Mayor Johnson and I have a shared commitment to advancing equity and inclusion, and no other project, in my opinion, exemplifies those goals and this vision better than the Red Line extension. You see, the Red Line extension is more than a 5.6-mile extension of Chicago's busiest rapid transit rail line. It is a transformational investment for the far south side. And upon its completion, RLE will provide long-awaited and much-needed connection to jobs, education, and commerce, while also serving as a catalyst for economic development. More broadly, for the city and the region, RLE will bring improved transit connections, new affordable housing options, new retail and commerce opportunities or access to a diverse talent pool for employers, as well as new jobs and contracting opportunities, both now and also well beyond the completion of this project. It's gratifying to me, both personally and professionally, to see this story come full circle. 50+ years ago, I had no idea I would be able to help make this dream become a reality. And I'm sure that's true for many of the others standing up here today. But here we are, and I couldn't be happier as we finally bridge the far south side with the rest of the city of Chicago through an affordable and equitable transit services that will be available to everyone around the clock. So I want to thank everyone who has supported this project and helped us to get to this point. By beginning the engineering phase of this project now, we anticipate the funding will be granted to CTA in 2024, and the project will begin construction in 2025. We already are in the process of preparing to award a contract to do the engineering and construction work by the end of this year. And you're going to actually start seeing some preliminary work start probably before the end of this year. So what I want to leave all of you with is that you have heard us talk about this project for decades, but I'm here to tell you the project is now happening. And on behalf of all the residents of the south side of the city of Chicago, on behalf of me personally, on behalf of the mayor and the congressmen and the senators and the elected officials and others who live, work, and believe in this community, none of us are as happier as we could be today to be able to make that announcement. So thank you all for being here. I certainly appreciate you hearing this announcement.